Welcome back. Well, with me in the studio is Honorable Godwin Ozo. You're welcome to Corero.
Good evening. Good evening, viewers and listeners.
Well, Honorable, it's an electoral season. Of course, the drums are high right now. Expectations are also high from a lot of people. But then, this election, FCT election in focus, let's even look at it beginning from the primaries. How was the primaries that brought in, that brought all the African Democratic Congress chairmanship candidates? Was it free, was it fair, and was it credible?
Well, thank you. The primaries for my party, African Democratic Congress, was very free and fair because my chairmanship candidate, Honorable Josiah Musa, was elected unopposed. He was the only candidate who stood in the primaries, and he won. And other candidates for the councillorship, it was also free and fair. There were no rancors. But after the primaries, because of the coalition and people that came into the party, there were, a kind of squabbles, because when people come into a place, they want to get, a fair share of what they met. But somehow, those who were trying to draw the party back, they came late, so they need to have some patience, work with the party, work with us for us to win the area council. And thank God the time for all the room for changes and all that, they are over now, according to the rules of INEC for election guidelines. So now we have settled down for election, campaign, and all that. So all those things are in the past, and they are behind us now. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about your manifesto. One would have thought that there will be some form of uniformity when it has to do with the manifesto, but then Buhari Area Council tend to have its own manifesto. Gwagwalada Area Council tend to have its own manifesto. AMAC tend to have its own manifesto. The 6 divisions of Abuja tend to have a different manifesto. What inspired this thought?
As you know, in politics, every candidate will always tell his voters or electorates what he intends to do, his plan, based on the challenges facing the particular constituency and the resources within their reach, and what has been on ground or what they expect to have in future. So somehow you may not expect the candidate to have a uniform manifesto. For instance, a place like Gwagwalada, they have their peculiar issues. A place like Kuje, they have their peculiar issues. AMAC has its own peculiar issues. We in Buhari, we have our own issues. In AMAC, you see, they are more of urbanized place than a place like Kuje or Buhari. So that's why the manifestos cannot be the same. So that is what it is.
So you're saying at this point in time that the African Democratic Congress cannot have a uniform manifesto in order to sell a particular vision to the people and residents of the Federal Capital Territory?
As it is, it's not as if the manifestos are completely different from one another or each other. When you look at it, you will see that in Nigeria, for instance, almost everybody is suffering the same thing. There is hunger, there is problem of electricity, there is problem of decayed infrastructure, problem of insecurity, problem of health issues, education issues, and all that. So the manifestos are relatively the same, but the approach, each candidate will have its own way of approaching the solution to the problems. That's what it is.
All right. Since you've said that the manifestos are peculiar to particular individuals at a particular locality. Let's come back to Buhari. What would you say is the key challenges facing your area council as at today?
Thank you so much. In Buhari, there are very many issues, but the key issues we have, like in every other place in Nigeria, one of them is hunger. The other one is insecurity. Another one is the issue of enabling environments for businesses and lives to thrive. Then you have issues that borders on education, issues that borders on health, issues that borders on development, unemployment, women empowerment, child mortality, and so on and so forth. There are too many, but the key ones are the ones I've mentioned now.
Well, what you tend to mention tend to be a generic thing. It's a widespread virus across the country, hunger. Of course, Nigeria has gone even below the poverty line, which is on record. But then, are there peculiar challenges confronting Buhari, that Buhari people are facing as it stands right now?
Well, when it has to do with fundamental issues, it's no longer something you call general. In Buhari, we have issues of hunger is a fundamental thing. And
when you say you have issues of hunger, yes, one will begin to ask, if you get to when you get to a place like Kogo, you tend to see lands that people you see quite a lot of farmers around Kogo. If you move a bit further, you come in all of those acts. We've seen arable lands in Buhari. So when you say people of Buhari are hungry, one begins to ask, is this a fact? When you say people of Buhari don't have, they've not seen adequate development, one begins to question, is this a reality? In terms of infrastructural development, has Buhari experienced significant development? Because one would say that once the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is definitely inevitable. You coming in and you are aspiring for chairman under the umbrella of the African Democratic Congress, are there challenges that your party is saying that it wants to fix within, apart from the generic concern, are there particular concerns?
No, you mentioned the issue of hunger, and equally said, you talked about people, farmers, and all that. But you see, we are living in a modern world, and the farmers you talked about doing their farming business is just on a substantial level, not on a large scale, because our society today is a society that is, division of labor compliant. So now, if one man or a family goes to their farm using their hoe and their cutlass, and they, plant maize, plant beans, yam, and all that, at the end of the day, what you will see is that these things, when we get to the harvest level, what they will harvest will be small to compare to the need of the people. I don't know if you understand me. Now, there are farmers, but they are not enough. Even if they are enough, the farming system today is still the same traditional way of farming, using hoe and cutlass. Now, the thing we want to bring in is what we call mechanization of agriculture. Mechanization of agriculture entails using machines, silos, and all that. Now, if you go to Buhari, you hardly see machines in the farm, and people who are there, they don't know how to use machines, even if you bring machines today. So our plan to end hunger in Buhari Area Council, and FCT by extension, is to bring in machines and to bring in people what we call technology transfer, people who can train our youths so that agriculture could be mechanized, so that we have food and have it in abundance, so that we can have food security, so that everybody in Buhari Area Council will not be afraid of where the next meal will come from, so that people can even have choice of what they want to eat, whether they want to eat vegetables, whether they want to eat carbohydrates, and the time they want it. That is what food security is all about. You have to have food and have it in abundance in a way that you can make choices of what you want to eat. And when we mechanize agriculture, a lot of problems will be solved. Agriculture not only makes sure that we live healthy lives, is also a source of income. Agriculture is also a way of engaging people and keeping people busy to make sure they don't go into crime. So if you have youths who are trained in agriculture and they earn a living there, it's a good thing. It improves people's lives. It gives them income and make them stay away from crime.
Honorable Godwin, based on the proximity of Buhari to Kaduna State, one would have thought at this point that your manifesto, because I'm trying to study your manifesto as we are trying to also critically look at other manifestos across the Federal Capital Territory. We'll begin with Buhari Area Council manifesto. Now, one of the things you've highlighted in your manifesto is that your administration, or if sworn in, or if you win in the election, will focus on sport and talent development. Now, I'm curious at this point, with an agrarian community like Buhari, where we have little industries in Buhari. Factories are completely, almost infinitesimally low in Buhari. Let's not say we don't have factories. But the reality of the matter is, when we're talking about sport and talent development, is this not a misplaced priority coming from your manifesto?
Well, when you look at that manifesto very well, there are about 10-point agenda in the manifesto. So sports is not number 1, it's not number 2, it's number 3. I think it should be the 10th. It should be in the 10th number. It has just mentioned issues with industries. When you look at the manifesto, I think you will see that providing constant electricity using independent power plants like solar grids, like wind vane and all that, to provide electricity independent of what we are having today, which is not reliable. When we have electricity, that's our plan to help industries to grow. When we have electricity that are constant, you understand, through IPPs, you see that industries will blossom. Industries will do well. They will sustain. They will run at a very low cost. They will have profits. They will sustain. And when they have profits, when they sustain, they will employ youths. They will pay them not just money as we have it today, minimum wage. They will pay them living wage, you understand, or living wages. And when industries run, at a low cost, they expand. And the more they expand, the more you have jobs. So actually our plan for industries, our plans, they are very great. It's to make sure that there is constant electricity. It's key in our manifesto. It's one of the major priorities.
Well, I've seen your manifesto talking about power and energy, but let's speak to the issue around the sport and talent development. Is this not a misplaced priority in a community, in a very agrarian setup like Buhari, that a lot of people will say that even to travel down that far is even scary? Should we be talking about sport development, even if we want to chart a new course for Buhari?
Okay, the answer to that is this. We intend to run an administration that we create a robust value chain system. a robust value chain system. I repeat. Why? Because every aspect of human life, need to be empowered, need to be worked on to create opportunities. So sports is one of them. Sport development is one of them. You see, all over the world, youths earn lots of money because part of the plan in the manifesto is to raise at least 100,000 youths to make them multimillionaires and billionaires. So you cannot get that 100,000 youths in Buhari. You cannot make them millionaires and billionaires by relying only on one sector. It's in all the sectors, including tourism, including music, including content creation, including high tech, including every aspect of human endeavors. So sports is not a misplaced priority. People become millionaires and billionaires in sports, and sports is very vast. We have football, we have hockey, we have badminton, we have volleyball. You can't just mention, there are so many of them. So sports is a key area where you can create opportunities that youth will take advantage of and make their lives better. And apart from that, sports is also a way of making us forget our pains and all that. So that's why when you go to Europe, you see that whenever they are having their premiership, you see people there, because all work without play make Jack a lazy boy. So we should have a time. This life you're living is something we have to enjoy. So when you make sports, which is a key area of human endeavor, when you develop it, it helps a lot in terms of money, in terms of recreation, in terms of happiness, because our life is meant to be happy. We're not supposed to be living this kind of life of slavery that the ruling party have made us to accept that we should be caged. We should not live free life. We should not live happy life. No, everything that make human being life happy, it should be encouraged, it should be developed, and sports is key to that.
All right, Honorable, going through your manifesto, key captions and key areas, you call it 10-point agenda.
Yes.
That you're focusing on is on healthcare.
Yes.
You're focusing on education and youth development.
Yes.
You're focusing on power and energy. You're focusing on security, infrastructure, and ICT, innovation, tourism, culture, and a lot of things captured in your manifesto.
To create a robust,
let's talk about thrust right now.
Okay.
Going through the manifesto, doing an intensive study with the manifesto,
yes,
it tends to be a document that every politician will want to submit. It's like has become like a norm, like a culture, where politicians pick areas, concentrated areas that they want to focus on, and which we are seeing here. But then, in reality, people within the Buhari council area take the conversation away from Buhari, move it down to, let's even move away from the Buhari itself and travel down all the major cities that tends to comprise and make up Buhari area council. Some of these concerns right now are very legit. Talk about security, provision of security, but then can people within the FCT trust this manifesto to address some of the concerns that you have also highlighted in this? Because this, like I said earlier, it has become like a reoccurring thing for politicians to come up with documents like of this nature. How can people of these communities trust you, and can they really trust that this will be brought into fruition?
Well, that's a good one. It is said that from the abyss of the heart, the mouth speaketh. If we don't have the plan to execute this, there's no way we come about with a manifesto of this kind. And this manifesto is something that is very, very workable. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. These are practical ideas that have been achieved elsewhere. And what I want you to take to the bank is this: by God's grace, if we are elected, if we have the trust of the people to be at the helm of affairs of Buhari Area Council. This is what we are going to do, and trusting God, there is always a budget, fiscal budget. What we have, what will we have, what we are going to meet when we be in the office will help us realize these objectives, these noble objectives we see here. And we are young men. We have not been in any elected office like people who are there now, for people to begin to doubt whether we are going to do this. In our individual capacities, we've been able to, achieve something reasonable that people can believe in us. My very self, I'm the chairman of Advocacy for Youth Empowerment and Emancipation. It was born out of the zeal to see that youths do not, they are not consumed by circumstances they meet while, growing and all that. It was registered in 2014, and we're doing a lot. We're going to schools like government secondary school in Buhari there. So if I can use my private money to finance things that will benefit the society, I think that that is good enough, because they say that one good turn deserves another. If I was able to use my personal fund, that the fund I'm supposed to use to, take care of my family, I sacrifice part of it to cater for the good of youths in our society. I believe that this is enough example that if I'm entrusted with public fund, or if my chairman is entrusted with public fund, that we are going to work together to, deliver good governance to the good people of Buhari Area Council. My chairman, that I know very well, is also a very good man. He's also a very reliable man. He was the chairman of PTA in his community in PIG in Chikekwere, and he did a lot. He brought a lot of development to the community, to the school, and today people attest to that. And that is why people have believed in us, that we can do this, we can achieve this. This is not just theory or statements or something just somebody can just write and present. These are the things that are achievable within the time frame that will be in office, within the budget we are going to work with, both internally generated revenue and the revenue that will come from federal allocations. So, and with partnership with the people that matters in these areas, like the area of IPPs, the area of agriculture, we have already started making efforts to partner with people that will help us, realize these noble objectives. Because government is not a one-man thing. There is what we call a private-public partnership in the government, and we have started taking steps to see that even before we enter office, that these things, are put, their steps are taken, so that as soon as we assume office, it will not be difficult. We're not going to start, afresh. We already have, the partnership on ground.
All right, let's talk, since we're talking about trust, let's also look at the electoral umpire, even within Buhari Area Council. There have been speculations that for other political parties, that this is a walkover election. That is, they already know who is going to emerge as the winner. Now, I'm not throwing that part of speculation, but then, as a candidate that is contesting in the forthcoming election, do you trust the electoral umpire to deliver on its mandate?
Well, as it is, we have no option than to trust the INEC and as an institution, and the process and the regulation they put in place. However, we have to be careful, we have to be vigilant, we have to follow up to make sure that they follow the rules that they themselves set. And if they fail to follow the rules, we equally have faith and trust in the judiciary for redress. So absolutely, we have faith that the process will be free, fair, credible. But in the event that it becomes otherwise, we equally have to rally around our people and have a way of making sure that our votes count and that the people's mandates are respected, the people's wish are respected. What they voted for, if they voted for us, we'll make sure that we will claim our mandates. We'll make sure that our mandate is not tampered with. We'll work very hard, and we, as I said before, we have faith in the institution of INEC.
All right, so let's come back to your manifesto. Again, there are concerns, especially as it has to do with the residual list. You understand, by the Constitution, we have the exclusive legislative list, we have the concurrent list, and we have the residual list. But some of the items captured in your manifesto are outside the purview of the residual list. You want to quickly react to this in terms of providing energy and power, in terms of also addressing the issues around security, in terms of the old provision of tourism centers across. Now, to a large extent, these conversations tend to be centered around the exclusive legislative list. But then, if you're going to address some of this concern, first, let me even ask, how are you going to address some of this concern since they are within the exclusive legislative list?
Well, if you are conversant with our laws, for instance, the issue of energy independence, there is a law that is in place that empowers
states,
not only states, even local governments, even private companies, to go into providing, their own independent power plants. I know some companies that are generating their own electricity by themselves because wise people in our country have looked into it, and they've seen that leaving the issue of energy in the exclusive list will not achieve the aim of making sure that we have constant and affordable electricity in our communities to power our homes and industries. So there is a law. Maybe when next, I don't know, I will get you the appropriate instrumentality of the law that empowers. That's why if you go to a place like Abia State today, there are communities that are enjoying their own independent power plants. And I'm not very sure, but I think where I come from, in Buhari there's one quarry company, I think it's Zebra Seed. I learned that, I'm not very sure, but I learned that they are producing their own energy, and that is why their products are cheaper to compare to other quarry companies around that area, at least with 1,000 naira. So we are backed by law. When you come to the idea of producing energy for communities, independent energy for communities. So that's aside. When you come to the issue of tourism, tourism is not entirely a federal government thing, although federal government is supposed to promote tourism. When you come to a place like Buhari, we don't have real federal government presence in tourist attraction. And you see that there are, tourist places that need to be revived or need to be modernized or need to be, created. We have mountains, we have, good sites, good areas, that if we work on, it could be, maybe we provide access, we provide security for people to come and, see, like the mountains, the way they are formed, the rocks, the way they are formed, the way, they look and all that. There's a way we can work on them, and people will come and look at the wonders of nature, and they will pay money, and government will have revenue. And equally, those areas, there are opportunities there, and jobs will be created when those things are, put in a shape that they are supposed to be. So tourism is a very big business. Many countries in the world survive by tourism alone. So if we start it in Buari Area Council, and even if it is on the exclusive list, and we tell government, the federal government, that this thing could be put into this way, and people, even the federal government and the states, could generate revenue that equally could be shared within the third tier of government, and people will get job, and people will equally get, other opportunities they can help themselves in. So it's many of the things, in fact, all the things in our manifesto, we local governments have rights to delve into those areas. Agriculture is, purely an area that a local government can go into, empower people. Even security itself, even though major aspect of security is on the exclusive list, like the military, like the police, but that does not stop us from having youths trained as vigilante. That does not stop us from having a situation room where we can have monitor, where we can have drones that monitor farms, that monitor movements of people during the day and in the night, that monitor activities of people to detect if we have security issues, that we can pass information to police or the army to intervene. Because every time our government is to protect lives and properties. So if you say that because security is just for in exclusive list, we cannot do anything, I don't think it's absolutely very okay with that. Government is government, whether it is federal government, state government, or local government. The essence of government is to make lives better, is to make lives meaningful. So local government has a role when it comes to security. Before anything happens, we are on ground, we are closer to the people, we understand the terrain better than the federal government. So it is the local government that will give information to states or federal government, whether it is issue that has to do with gathering threats or imminent threats. It is local government, the local authority, the chairman or the vice or the councillors that are close on ground that will tell the states. The state, they might have, the might, but they might not have all the information, because it's the people on ground that will give you first-hand information, the primary data with which you, the state or federal government, will need to work on.
Well, since you've taken us to that point where we talk about security, let me even ask at this point, how safe is Buari
right now
local council, taking the conversation from Dutse, moving it to Kubwa, traveling back to Buari town, going to, you've mentioned Biagi and, yes, and other places and other areas around that axis. How safe is this community? To alleviate the fears of people, a lot of people will say during elections they will not come out because the place is not safe. During elections there are paths that they cannot even go through because of fear of being kidnapped, being attacked and all. But how safe is Buari for the elections?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, Buari as a local government cannot be said to be a very safe place for now, not just because of politics, but because of realities on ground. I've heard people talk about kidnappings. One of my friends was kidnapped a couple of months ago. We contributed money to pay for ransom for his release, and thank God he was back. And some people that were kidnapped around that Kubwa Biazi area, some of them didn't make it alive, like places like that, Chikekore, Grow Home, even Shere, Igu, and many places, many wards like that. Just like every other thing that is happening in the country today, we're just living by the grace of God. by divine providence, not because the government of the day is doing their best to protect lives and property. As it is today, as it were, the security is not good enough. I'm not saying that there's no security, but it is not good enough. The kind of security that should be good enough for us in Buhari and maybe for the entire people in Nigeria, the entire citizenry, is the type of security that if one soul is lost, maybe by way of kidnapping, maybe by way of armed robbery, maybe by way of banditry, there should be a means to unveil the circumstance that caused the loss of life, or maybe a way to ascertain why was this person kidnapped in the first place, who did the kidnapping. You understand? The person, that individual, must be accounted for by the government of the day. Every person in Buhari, and likewise every person in Nigeria, should have adequate security. No life should be lost because of kidnapping, because of insecurity issues. There should be a way, a system that works, that makes sure that everybody is safe.
All right, Honorable, just before, as we begin to wrap up, if election is to happen today in Buhari Area Council, do you think that the level of insecurity, alleged insecurity, from Duse down to Buyaji across, through to Kogo, bringing it back to the generality of Kubwa itself, do you think that this will in any way hamper the election, or probably discourage people from even coming out to exercise their fundamental rights?
Sure, just like you rightly said, people are afraid. People have said, some people I know have said they are not coming out because they might be kidnapped. Even some people who are supposed to be working, going about their daily businesses, they are afraid. Yes, the fear is there, it's real. So, but having said that, what I want to tell our people is this: why we have democracy and we have change of government and we have opportunity to change a government is that if the government of the day is not doing well, if they are not living up to expectation, it is during voting time that you exercise your right of changing that government and bringing in a credible government like the one that ADC party want to bring in Buhari Area Council, a party that have plans to change lives, a party that have plans to make sure that there is food in Buhari Area Council. So if you stay put in your house because of threat of insecurity, in my place in Igbo, we say, Adahe Jimbabu Wegalogo. You cannot say because they will kill you in a battle and they say you're not going to fight a battle. This is our battle to change the bad government that we have today, both at the federal, state, and local governments, and entrust ADC with our security. Because ADC will protect people's lives. ADC will guarantee that there is street lights in all the streets. Like in Buhari, we have planned to make sure that there will be street lights in all the streets, so that anything that will happen, we see. You understand?
Right.
We have CCTV. There will be men on the street. At least we have planned to put like 5 or 4 men in every street to man the street and give information and tackle whatever challenge security-wise.
All right, just before I let you go, politicians, because this FCT election is very interesting, it's an interesting one. This is like the first time we're seeing politicians coming out to openly contest in an election. FCT election has been like a political appointment where you see local government chairmen emerge and you keep wondering what was the process that brought them. But then there is one also thing that we've seen within the political landscape, especially within the local government, and that is the fact that most local government chairmen will come out during election campaigns like this to campaign and canvass for vote. But after the campaign, we don't get to see them again giving accountability to the people. Again, can the people of Buhari trust Josiah and trust you, Honorable Godwin, that after this whole process, they will still be able to hold you accountable to your words? Because that is the challenge that we are seeing. Every politician will just disappear after election. Or is this just another flowery speeches that is embellished with gorgeous metaphors and idioms?
Anyway, thank you so much for this question. One of the things that I will say here that will make you to believe that we are going to be accountable to the people is that when we were drafting our manifesto, one of the things my chairman said to me is this: in all the words, there are no mechanisms for people from the wards, from the grassroots, to channel their fears, hopes, and aspirations to the area council. And most of them look at area council as a place that is, blocked, that people cannot access. So he said one of the things he will do when elected is that he's going to have a kind of town halls. You're going to build town halls in all the wards where there will be secretary or secretariats. Okay, the right word to use is secretariats in all the wards. Each ward will have a secretariat, and these secretariats will be staffed with people who will receive people's opinion, ideas, and bring them to area council. Even the councillors will equally be sitting in these secretariats from time to time to know the needs of the people, and for a place that we're going to be having feedbacks from time to time. We are going to be coming to these secretariats to talk to people on the in the wards. What we have done, are you okay with them? Are we following up with our manifesto? Or is there areas that people want us to do more and all that? So for we to have this plan of reaching out to people and giving people access to us, to challenge us, to make us accountable, shows you that we are prepared to serve the people in a very credible way. Because if we don't have the plan to make ourselves accountable, we shouldn't be talking about coming to be secretariat where people will question us, where people will come with ideas and opinions, whether constructive or not constructive. So this is to tell you that we are ready to serve the people and make governance, work for people of Buhari Area Council, for people to live better lives, happier lives, and free lives.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable Godwin Ozo, for finding our time to be with us here on Korero.
It's my pleasure.
Well, we wish you success in the forthcoming election, and while we'll also pray and hope that the election will come out as planned, even come February.
Thank you so much.
Well, viewers, this is how far we can go today on the show. Don't forget that you can follow us across all our social media handle currently showing on your screen, and you can also download the Rapid TV app from your Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. My name is Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.